Okay, scroll down. Look at that underwear. Look at that butt. Look at the shape of that butt.
That's not how butts work.
That's not how butts work.
Welcome to Madoka Magicast. It's the podcast devoted to the dark magical girl anime Puella Magi Madoka Magica. I am your host Amanda, and I'm joined by my producer Panda and my co-hosts Yasha and Vanna.
Hello!
Yasha and Vanna own the biggest revolutionary girl Utano website, Empty Movement, and Panda produces a whole ton of podcasts.
I sure do.
On this podcast, we talk about why we love and don't love Madoka Magica, and today is part 2 of our discussion of the Rebellion movie.
Because we only made it in about 13 minutes the first time.
13 minutes and 39 seconds. I remember.
Oh, 14 minutes.
To be exact. So, in other words, the first 13 minutes of this movie are not part of the story.
They're basically like an arc of their own that's completely trying to fuck with the audience.
They're kind of like on the last episode, except it's a summary of the show, kind of.
Yeah, it's weird. It keeps on like
So imagine this movie where instead of coming up with nightmares, they just did wraiths. They just did the wraiths that they set up at the end of the series. What would be different about this movie?
Nothing. Visually uncompelling.
Literally nothing.
Visually uncompelling. They had to do something aside from race because they established that the race were fucking boring to look at.
They could do whatever they wanted with the race. We don't know anything about them.
I thought the wraiths were fine.
Shadow things. They
didn't
have
you can do whatever you want. You can just say that that's what they look like from the outside. You can do whatever you want with that to make it visually interesting.
Also, you needed the establishing that this is not the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nightmares are not wraiths.
So you're like, wait, why aren't they wraiths?
But why did you need that establishing? Just to make the audience confused for an hour and, not care about what's happening? Because that's what it did for me.
All it established to me was that it's some other universe. I hadn't decided yet whether this was a different continuity or someone's dream or someone's whatever, but it was definitely not.
It's not reality.
It's not the exact same setting that Homura is looming over at the end of the series, and you're supposed to know that right away.
Yep.
That's all I took that
to. It would have been nice to watch this movie not, after it immediately came out as an existing fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, this, how you feel about this movie is so exactly, the arc of my experience with the Utena movie that I kind of feel like, oh, yeah, same.
She's actually covering her face right now.
Not because either of them is bad, because I like the Utena movie and I like Rebellion, but neither of these is necessarily what you wanted if you just consumed the show.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, I was gonna make a joke where I referred to this as Adolescence of Madoka, and then I forgot until you said that. I was thinking earlier while I was watching this, man, I've got a really great joke, it's gonna be really funny, and, didn't get that one.
Sorry.
See, the Utena movie's not the same for me because it's not canon to the TV show, so you are free to ignore it if you want to.
That is fair.
You really can't ignore Rebellion, unfortunately.
I don't know, I have no problem ignoring existing canon, but
yep.
I'm used to dealing with Ikuhara, and if he walked over and said, this is the story of Utena, and it disagreed with my reading, I'd tell him to go fuck himself.
Well, yeah.
And I kind of feel like Orobuchi's not necessarily as bad as Ikuhara, but he's in the same sphere.
The same realm.
Of, I don't think he should, because as far as I can tell, he doesn't exactly, give interviews where he, lays out all of what's going on, he refuses to get into details much, and I think it's the same sort of, I want you to figure this out yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of there being oh, this was my plan all along, blah, 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 blah.
Well, the difference between them being that Gen provides a lot more details than Ikuhara does.
Yeah, but that's not hard. He does. There's actually, I saw, because someone showed us the booklet, the Rebellion, booklet that kind of released with a special screening. And
that was me. I showed you that.
Yes, you showed me that, but I don't know who scanned it.
Oh, yeah, well, we found it, Jimmy and I found it online, so...
Okay.
No source, sorry.
No source. And it's interviews with, like, the cast, but the Rebellion soundtrack booklet has interviews with, like, the creators and stuff. And I would be very curious whether they got translated, because there's a lot of letters. And symbols and stuff.
I'm sure that they did at some point.
Yeah, like, I feel like at some point it would be fun to, like, hunt down whatever has been translated and, like, do a whole podcast on what the creators said, but we'd have to hunt it down because there's no empty movement for Madoka that I know of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, send us your translated interviews about Rebellion if you know where they are.
Or any Madoka. I just want, just all of it, because I would love to know kind of, like, if they said anything about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this movie was very much put together with that same idea in mind of, like, hey, consume it.
Yeah, buy our product.
Buy our product and figure it out yourself, noobs.
Yeah. You've got to get the new Sayaka figure because she has a hairpin now.
Oh, yes. And Mommy's tits are bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing even the figures have them bounce somehow. Like, they just violate reality to do this.
Oh, because violating reality is so unlike Madoka.
It really is, yes.
When it comes to titty reality, it actually is pretty unlike Madoka.
Yeah, you're right.
Just here.
This movie is so much more fan servicey than the other installments in the series.
It is.
Like,
it really is.
Not even just, like, characters X-character fan service, but also, like, the titty and other
and the
accentuation of body parts of 14-year-old girls.
The 20-minute long fight scene a la the Star Wars prequels where nobody knows what's going on, so nobody really cares about what's happening.
Yeah.
We'll get there, but that's probably, I think, I definitely agreed with you on that one.
Yeah.
I could have skipped that myself.
That was straight fan service.
Yeah.
Gotten more of my crazy labyrinth.
Yeah, but we're not in it for the fan service.
We're not there yet. We are, we're, like, just at the end of the, Homer is starting to figure out something's wrong stuff, this is, like, when she starts getting that inkling of it.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. She hasn't vocalized it yet.
No.
She's met the other girls and they welcomed her into their little group and she's had lunch with them and you get this feeling. Honestly, this part of the movie is great to me because you get a sense of Homer's, like, vague feeling of something being wrong.
Yeah.
Just through the music and the staging. It's like unlike the rest of the movie, which relies completely on exposition, this part of the movie, it just conveys what you get what you're supposed to be taking away from it just through the visuals.
Yeah. It is some really good visual storytelling.
And then, so, it brings us to this scene of Homer and Madoka sitting on, like, the top of a hill, overlooking the city, I think?
In a flower bed.
In a flower bed.
What? And there's, like, one light above them. It's a very kind of otherworldly and strange surroundings.
Yeah.
I know. There's all these blimps in the sky.
So there's, like, blimp watch, I don't know what flowers any of these are.
Those are clover.
Okay.
That's pretty...
Yeah. Flower language, not my skill, but...
I know what some of those flowers are, but I don't remember the name of them, and I'm so pissed off about it.
So I have a theory about these blimps that starts around this scene. I don't know whether we feel like the blimps are, like, Cubays are watching, or Homeras are watching, or whatever, but, like, the way that they, like, put the blimps across the sky, it makes them look like fish in a fishbowl. And I feel like there's other imagery around this that kind of has this, like, this world is in a fishbowl
There's
thing.
a lot of bubble imagery.
Yeah.
And a lot of water imagery.
Yeah. And that's when I started to, like, oh, this is a closed space because you're in it looks like you're in a, that's why I think the blimps look the way they do, is I think they're supposed to be kind of evocative of fish. Of moving
basically
around.
being inside an aquarium.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that the blimps are akin to familiars.
Mm-hmm.
If only because towards the end of the movie when Homer realizes what's actually
happening, they crash into...
They crash, yeah.
That is true.
Maybe they're, like, maintaining the fake city or something.
It feels like I've known you forever, and yet a month has flown by. So they've known each other. It's been a month in this world, supposedly. So it takes Homer a month to crash her own fantasy of her life.
I mean, basically. A month is not that long.
Yeah,
I would have expected her to do it earlier. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. I mean
I personally don't get. Other than that line of dialogue, there's nothing that makes me feel like she spent that much time in this.
Yeah.
That's
why they include the line, so that you have to acknowledge that much time has passed.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much, but like, if nothing important happens in that time, then they could have done more to show the passage of time.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Definitely.
Well, I'm guessing they're kind of vague on that on purpose.
Yeah.
Because, like, when you say a month in Madoka, you could be like, a month, but this is also someone who's lived, 30 years of a month? So,
yeah,
her perception of time is probably not great to begin with.
Actually, that's the other thing, is she was reliving that 1 month over and over. So having it be a month that's passed before she breaks everything is kind of...
that sounds about right.
Apt.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's about as long as you could reasonably expect her to last, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. This scene, when you first see it, is so sappy.
Oh, so this shot is both a window watch and a blimp watch ding.
Yeah, all the dings.
I'll just put in 2 dings.
There's so much shit in this that should have dings that this entire thing
no, this is Hitomi's room.
Just gonna be dings one after another.
I know, right? You're not gonna be
able to hear so we're in
Hitomi has this room. Fucking baller window, I guess, into her room.
Isn't she a rich bitch?
She is, but man, that's gonna suck at fucking 8 o'clock in the morning.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Brutal.
Yeah, but her room is super dope.
It is. Yeah. It is very...
And she's... Oh my god. She's on the bed that Utena and Anthe in their lingerie were posed on.
It looks
that
like
cursed picture.
It does.
Oh, I hate it.
And that looks like Toga's bed, so this is a slippery slope here.
Anyway.
Or maybe...
it has been 0 minutes since Utena has been mentioned.
We're gonna have a problem there.
Yeah.
But she's on her cell phone and she's blowing up this poor kid's phone trying to get a hold of him. It's just not panning out.
She's trying to call Kyosuke.
Yes. And then there's a foreground shot where there's a violinist and then a mermaid next to him, and it's very, oh hey, do you remember the symbols from the show?
Yep.
And I was like, thanks, I do, actually.
Yeah.
You can tell she's really desperate because she's holding the phone with both hands. That's...
Yeah, this conversation's really awkward.
It really is.
She asks Kyosuke to come with her, out somewhere this weekend, and there's, a very intentional, 3 or 4 second pause in the movie, where he's like, actually, I'm busy.
Yep.
I'm really sorry.
I'm practicing.
I gotta practice my violin.
Mm-hmm. Denied.
Our schedules just never seem to match.
Yeah, I really kind of wonder here.
Did we mention this in the last one? All of the characters that are drawn into this world who aren't magical girls seem to understand that there's something wrong on a subconscious level, and they're all acting really fucked up.
Yeah, they all act bizarre.
Like the teacher, Hitomi, Kyosuke we don't really see, but...
Well,
from what
you
we
assume he's acting weird
because he's brushing her off.
Then again, he wasn't exactly a clingy motherfucker in the show either, but, he was Dead Space anyway. He was just there to be a thing that everyone bounced off of. But she's definitely acting just fucking weird.
Yeah.
But I do actually like how they transition into the nightmare, though.
Yeah, that's very
basically
cool.
She tries to tell herself that it's okay that Kyosuke doesn't want to see her again, and then she gets pissed. And she's like, you know what? Screw you. I hate your stupid recital and your violin, and I'm gonna turn into a monster. But she doesn't say those exact words. That's basically what she did. Yeah.
That is essentially what happens.
Yeah.
This is what I do when Vanna pisses me off.
Yes, you emit countless red threads of fake
we get
shit.
Some fan service. Mommy in a towel.
I do love this scene, but also, mommy in a towel. Ugh.
Please, no. Was this necessary? Also, I do kind of appreciate the level of trolling that Bebe is.
Yeah.
Like,
what do you mean?
Well, it's just like, if you're watching this movie and you're watching it, you know, fresh off the show, and you see Mommy hanging out with this little fucking ooh version of Charlotte, and you're like, this has some foreboding energy. and Charlotte's just going, cheese.
Listen, in this house, we love Bebe.
Actually, I mean,
Bebe is good.
Screaming nonsensically
Bebe.
about cheese is a mood. So, but
I
is totally
connect with
hilarious.
Bebe on a spiritual level.
Big same. I also like cheese.
Yes, exactly.
She's okay.
She's okay, but it's totally such a fake out. Like, her existing there at all is so viewers, I wonder what's gonna happen now.
Mommy, why did you even brush your hair? You're just gonna use magic to put it up.
Oh, and
I
thanks
do
for
love
this
that
transition shot.
I like that this movie does show us that Mommy uses magic to do her hair so perfectly.
Her drill hair.
It does explain things quite significantly.
Yeah.
I believe that had been shown in one of the Madoka manga before, but this is the first time we're seeing it in the animation.
There's no other way that hair could exist.
No. That's the only thing from the first two movies that I recall actually liking was that shot where Kyoko is using the telescope, but she magics it so it has that really weird magical look. And
it's got kind of jewels on it and stuff. The little binoculars thing.
You figure out that these girls are totally able to use their magic for nefarious, self-serving purposes,
like hairdos,
and
nefarious hairdos.
Nefarious hairdos.
Okay, what else do you call that fucking hair though?
Yeah,
honestly,
beautiful.
Okay, so the reason. Wait. The reason Mommy is so good is because all of her evil is concentrated in those hair. Do
you think if you cut her hair
I'm
off,
very upset by this statement.
Why?
Because Mommy's not evil.
That's because it's all in her hair.
I mean...
Alright, I had my moment.
And then we cut to Kyoko and Sayaka, doing the whole very stereotypical jumping across the
on their way to the nightmare.
Which is shadows of magical girls boxing, which I find amusing. There's this little ballerinas fighting.
They're boxing, dancing, kind of.
Boxing, dancing thing. And you get your blue hands again, because that's Orobuchi letting you know he's there, I guess.
Yep.
Is how I'm supposed to read that. That's how I read it anyway. Whatever.
So they all meet up together on top of a moving train.
Which makes sense. Where else?
Where
else would you meet up?
If you're a magical girl, you can meet up wherever the hell you want. Oh, look, it's cute Cube.
They meet up on what's clearly a circular track.
Yeah, the train has a circular track. The bridges go nowhere. There's just...
This is a visual language I feel very familiar with.
Yep.
Okay,
and now we get more
transformation sequence that I both love and just hate.
This is 10 minutes long.
Did we need this? This is peak fan service, though.
But this is peak otaku jerking off. Seriously, this is peak.
Really
we're just gonna give the otaku guys what they want, and what they want is weird fan servicey transformations that include creep shots.
Lots of them.
Lots of creep shots.
And the boob socks.
And the boob socks. The only thing I like about this is that each magical girl has a different dance style they do.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cute and neat.
Yeah, there are parts of this that I like. It's just there are parts of it that I don't like.
I really like Sayaka's a lot.
I like that she break dances instead of some
it's
sort
adorable.
Of thing. It is
I like
cute.
that she tackles her magical girl self.
Yeah.
And then explodes out the back of it.
Yep. That's very cool.
It's really cool.
And that thing where she splits into a spectrum, I swear is a fucking reference to something. At the very least, it's some serious 70s aesthetic.
Yep.
And Homer has got this little ooh one.
Actually, I really like the way she's got the shadow acting like a tracer.
Yeah. I like it too, but she's so ooh.
The other thing, I don't know if you guys noticed.
By design.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's a lot of movie film imagery in this.
Well, yeah, because you're watching a film.
We're still watching the film.
Are you enjoying the film?
Yeah, but...
And, like, Madoka's is so cute, but it's also, by now, I'm getting exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This sequence is very long.
It's very long. It's...
Like, I like it, but it is very long.
Like, couldn't you have just released it on its own?
Honestly, this should have been split across the scene. They should have all transformed together.
That was a breaking window in Madoka's transformation.
Window watch.
And she looks through a hole in her hands like a window. Like, which makes a yeah.
Yeah, wait a second. Like you had said something about that, Bana.
Well, I said it was cute. What did it?
Yeah, but you wanted to know that if that was like a gesture that's often used or something like that.
Yeah, like it felt like something like is that something that they actually made up, or is that something that's got like a magical girl?
Yeah, is that a reference? Does that have
background? Of like looking between a hole and like making a hole with your hands?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Yeah.
Because it feels like the way it's done, it feels like this is something that should be vaguely familiar to me, but it's not.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like doing heart hands, except it's more of like a soul gem shape.
Maybe that's exactly what it is, because you do see them do... Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
It's cute, it's just too damn long. It's just too long.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys have something in the notes here that I need to ask about, because I don't think I understood what you meant. You want to read it?
Okay, what we've got in the notes is the movie's hiding its premise behind the format. Madoka has the most extended transformation because it makes sense to us that she would, but the show has an actual agenda here.
If you're watching it for the first time and you don't know where it's going, I felt like this was something of a, like, lulling you into a sense of Madoka is the central character still, and not Homura.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, is this Madoka's labyrinth? Or is this some Madoka space? Or, like, it felt like it was directing attention over to Madoka instead of Homura.
It's also doing the expected thing in a fan service sense.
Yeah, because of course
it makes sense to put the focus on the main character.
Yeah. Which also makes sense when you consider it's Homura's Witch Labyrinth.
Yes.
Well, I guess I don't know what you mean by hiding its premise behind the format.
All of the things that you would expect your fan servicey, high-budget Madoka movie to do, it does, but also those become the plot. Like,
those basically are, like, in front of the plot.
Yeah.
Like...
And it goes a lot with the whole, like, are you enjoying the movie? Like, it's very conscious of that it's a movie. You've got those film shots, you've got welcome to theater, cinema. And then you have a bunch of stuff that you feel like, of course that's there. Like, the extended sequence, or, you know, cute shots of Sayaka and Kyoko hanging out, or boob socks. But that all, well, most of it, not the boob socks, ultimately gets, like, worked into the plot as well, so you get the sense of, like, oh, the plot is literally the fan service. Like, they're
exploding.
Oh, no, I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it necessarily succeeded in doing that as far
Not
as
necessarily.
A viewer like me.
No.
But I understand what you're saying now.
Yeah. Like, the entire plot and existence of this movie is built around the fact that it's a movie.
Yeah.
That is being jammed in your eyeballs, kind of thing. Yeah, kind of the same cynicism. It's a kind of cynicism that, like, End of Evangelion had, where it's like...
Well, I mean, I would say this is the same kind of cynicism that drove the pivotal scene of Sayaka's on the train.
Yeah. It does, kind of like...
It's the same kind of...
is not a happy guy.
No, he's not.
No.
She's not really the most optimistic fellow on Earth.
This whole sequence is just basically, like, everything up to this point. We're up to 21, 23.
Yeah.
Everything up to this point has still been, hey guys, this is what you wanted. You're getting what you wanted. Here's what you wanted. Don't you like the movie?
Are you enjoying this?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what I meant by that. I know that's like I'm not even sure if I made sense there, but it's a thing in my head that makes sense.
Okay, well, when I first read that, I was confused because I really don't think the movie is trying to hide anything.
No, it's not hiding, like, the twists and stuff like that at all, no.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, it just comes right out of the door as being wrong. that you know you are skeptical of everything from the beginning, so it never really has that impact, at least on me as a viewer.
That's kind of like, you wanted this, right? This is what you wanted. Oh, are you happy now?
You're viewing it in a skeptical way, where a lot of people, I would say probably the majority of fans, would not have been viewing it skeptically. They would have been...
I don't know about that, because we don't know shit about what nightmares are.
Yeah.
Like, we were told this was a sequel, and then we're presented it with an AU.
I mean, I'm just going off the fact that all of the reviews for the first two Madoka movies are just raving about it and saying how great they are. Weird. Like, this doesn't signal to me that the audience is being super skeptical about things.
Where was that picture somebody posted of, like, a before and after of like, otaku fans going to Rebellion?
I didn't see that.
I gotta find it. It's like a picture of these two guys, and they're totally, like, stoked in front of the poster, and then there's an after where it looks like they got, like, divorced or something.
I will say that even though I watched this, like, when it came out, and I had finished the series not that long beforehand, I guess it just slipped my mind that they called them wraiths at the end of the series, and then they were nightmares in this, because I remember the first time being like, oh, those are the things that they were talking about at the end of the show, and then it wasn't until, like, I watched it again where I was like, wait a minute, no, they're not.
Yeah.
But I'm also just kind of dumb.
Well, I mean, most viewers aren't going to be studying this. Most viewers aren't going to be, like, picking it apart to see what makes it tick.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things are going to slide.
I didn't assume that this was important. Like,
I wasn't really picking the show apart back then. Like, I was excited to hear about this wraith thing that the show ended on. You know, like, it's not that small of a detail that people would, everyone would necessarily look it over.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I actually kind of assumed that, okay, so, again, this was me watching it, like, the first time around being dumb. I assumed that the wraiths and the nightmares were the same thing, but that humans looked and saw wraiths, whereas the magical girls could see them for what they were, kind of. Like, I didn't assume that this was a different place and that these weren't the same entity. I just assumed, like, because, you know, like, witch labyrinths you can't see from the outside. Kind of thing. I figured that the wraiths are what humans saw, like, drifting about in reality. And when the magical girls showed up, they're like, oh no, those are nightmares, and you enter them and blow them up and whatever. But that is not how that worked out. But that was kind of what I was thinking when I first watched it.
Yeah. Well,
but we have nightmares here.
I just think to a more casual, non-skeptical viewer, all of this would just fly right past them as like, oh, hey, that's cool.
Now it's nightmares. Cool. Moving on.
Yeah.
And the nightmare, so, like, this nightmare, like, breaks the violin on the top of the building, and the buildings all melt. And I, like, went and fucking checked this, and Inception came out in 2010, and this in 2013, and I swear to God, it's an Inception reference. Because, like, all of the buildings melt, and they start doing, like, that wave thing, and, like, Nolan and anime have a weird sort of Ouroboros.
Well, it's normally that Nolan is stealing from anime rather than the other way around.
Yeah. Exactly. So I wasn't, but I didn't feel like, I feel like that is probably deliberate. Like, you would definitely, you would have seen it.
Nolan stole from anime, and anime stole it back.
That's right. Yeah. Good for you, Gen. Get your vengeance. Just steal that good idea. But the buildings all melt, and it's really cool. And they start fighting, but they don't seem to be fighting so much as, like, at times putting everything back together.
Which is kind of, you know, that's kind of sweet, to be honest.
Madoka, Mami, and Homura work together to, like, Mami uses her ribbon to connect the three of them together. And Homura, you know, because they're touching Homura, she uses her time stop power, and they are not stopped with time. And then Homura and Mami do a Tiro duet, as they say.
Which my heart, my heart.
This is more fan service. The Tiro duet
no,
is
and I'm the fan being serviced.
And that's fine. That's fine.
Good for you. It is very
Let me be happy.
It is very cute.
No, it is cute, but it's still fan service.
Yep. Yeah, so the three of them fix the building that the nightmare tries to destroy. And then Kyoko and Sayaka go
work
after
it
the
together.
nightmare. Yeah.
And Kyoko
And
is...
do like this 5 Lillians thing, which after having called them the Holy Quintet and then saying the 5 Lillians is very like,
Well,
I
yeah,
like
because
Ava too.
they've all got like names for their attacks now, like Sailor Moon style.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Only Mommy did that in the show. I
Yeah,
feel like.
exactly.
Yeah.
She is, because she was the only one who was like extra about it.
Yeah.
Now we have this.
I like this part.
Perplexing to me.
This weird table chant.
If
Yeah.
I understand correctly, this is like supposed to be inspired by like a game that Japanese children might play. I remember when the movie came out, I was very perplexed by this scene, and I read something about like what it was supposed to be, but that was like years ago. I don't remember that shit now. But apparently there's a reference happening here that there might just be a cultural boundary.
Yeah, I could see that.
That would
I could see
definitely
that.
make sense. It's almost like a guessing game, like they're playing some kind of like guessing game, trying to figure
Mommy
out what's
says
in the
that
thing.
she's the cheese in this, and I'm just like, yeah.
Mommy eats the cheese.
No,
Yeah.
No,
Baby
Baby
eats the
cheese.
cheese.
Spoilers. But it is a very odd sequence. I just took it to be like, oh, they like kind of sing and lull the nightmare to a calm state or something.
Honestly, this whole sequence of fighting nightmares and like feeding them and singing to them and restoring buildings and all of that, it just strikes me as very sweet, because if this is all in Homura's head and she created the situation that they're in, the thing that the magical girls have to do is fix everything and sing to the nightmare so that it's not sad anymore.
It's the lowest stakes.
There's really very little actual fighting happening.
Yeah. But I kind of like that. I kind of feel like you can use that as a barometer of her mental state, too.
Right.
She's in a non-destructive kind of, like...
She wants everyone...
She wants everyone
to work
be
out.
happy and everything to be fixed.
Yes.
And I think that's sweet.
She wants a low-stakes version of the world where it doesn't hinge on her torturing herself for 30 years.
Yeah.
Etc., etc.
Yeah.
Okay, guys,
That's
I
not
have a link. This appears to be the type of thing that they are doing, according to a Reddit post from 3 years ago.
Oh, a Reddit post.
The song is sung in a Sprechen sang. I can't do German style. It's a nursery rhyme game, and there are various rules to the game.
Okay.
The scene is a facade to move viewers away from already assuming it will be a dark movie. There's also some very hidden foreshadowing in the objects if you want to correspond a pumpkin to represent a witch, etc.
Yeah, I can see that. There's definitely, like, not very subtle.
So it's like a little nursery
stuff.
rhyme game that they're playing.
Yeah, to quiet the nightmare instead of beating the crap out of it. Because even when they battle, it's not a violent battle. It's them putting stuff together. Yeah,
they put stuff together and they capture it.
And they capture him and put him in like this little glass thing and sing him to sleep.
Yeah, like I said, it's just cute. It's all very non-violent, and it feels indicative of Homura's mental state right now.
But it's also not what we want. That's why we have to get the Mommy versus Homura battle.
Yeah.
You fucks, you wanted them to fight, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
why that fight is there.
Yeah.
It's very, But this is cute.
I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy that fight, but just, it's pointless.
It is.
It is.
Yep.
So they finish the little nursery rhyme, and they throw the tablecloth up together, like they all hold the corners and toss the contents of the table up into the sky. And Charlotte eats it, and it turns into a blob of Hitomi's head.
I love little blobby Hitomi head.
Yeah, blobby Hitomi head.
It's cute, actually. And it totally, it makes dream sense. It's dream logic. She's this little floating head, and she gets all ooh when she sees...
Yeah, they soothe her sad dream, I guess, is what's going on here.
And now it's a happy
head
dream.
Floats up, and it's a happy dream. She's dancing with Kyusuke.
It's very heartwarming.
Yes.
Extremely heartwarming.
Assuming you're not a cynical asshole like I am, and you're just not believing any of this. As you
also fair.
including for the first time.
And
like,
her
happy
dream is what feeds fish to the gems. I like that.
Yeah, I want you guys to know that like I'm talking about like my initial reaction to this movie.
Yeah.
By the way, okay. So like when I say that I wasn't like on board with this when I watched it, like I'm not talking about like on subsequent watches. I mean like the first time I watched this, I was like, no, I don't trust you again. I don't believe any of this.
Yeah,
what the fuck is going on? Yeah, like. Please tell me why I should care about this, what is happening, I don't understand, etc., etc. Anyway,
Yeah, no, it's totally extremely valid.
So they save the day, the sun is rising, and they're basically... Are they on the flower hill? Yeah.
Yep, they are.
So the same flower hill that Madoka and Homura are on. And they're basically just, like, chumming around. They're like, let's have cake, let's hang out together, and then they're like teasing each other, blah blah blah.
We're friends.
And yeah, I like this moment because this is another one of those moments where Homura gets a quiet beat to just kind of like wonder what the hell's going on.
I actually really liked how they like kind of a dust and the sunlight blows their outfits back to normal.
Yeah.
Like there's a few shots like that effect I really, really love in this that are just...
Yeah, and Homura's like looking up at the sky, and then she's kind of looking back and forth at her friends, like she's not really sure
She's like, wait a minute.
What to make of this situation.
I'm too happy. That's literally what breaks Homura's like believing this illusion is I'm too happy.
Yep.
This can't be right.
This is a fucking mood.
I don't know how I feel about, like, symbolism or whatever, but I like this scene where you just see their reflections while they're walking.
Yeah.
Oh, in the water, yeah.
Yeah.
I do too. Like, there's a lot of neat visual, like, storytelling and things like that in this.
We gotta lean into the Sayaka Kyoko stuff.
Well, yeah, because otherwise, why would you assume they have any relationship? They didn't establish it in the first two.
Yeah, no, in the first two movies, they basically chopped out their entire relationship, so...
Thanks, I hate it.
Which is so weird, given how much attention they give it in this movie.
Yeah.
I know, right?
It's like, if you were gonna do this, you probably should have set it up at some point, I guess.
Well, that's because this isn't really a continuation of the movie universe. They're relying on your knowledge of the anime for this to make sense. Yeah.
Yep. It's bitter tea.
Yeah.
Now we get this classroom sequence where everybody...
this shit gets trippy.
Yeah.
This is, again, like, just what I keep talking about. Like, this early parts of this movie are really good in terms of atmosphere. And as Homura starts to suspect that something is not right, she's sitting in class and she starts to notice that almost everybody in her class, like, doesn't look like a person. And to us, we clearly see that, like, visually, that's how they represent it. Everyone has, like, blob faces. Yeah, but you kind of get this sense that she's looking around and only a few people really feel like people to her.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is also a mood. Maybe for a misanthrope like you.
Maybe. Our faces just sort of blur together. I don't know. For some reason, that made me be like, I relate so much more to Homer right now.
Yeah. No, I can see it.
It's that whole, like, introverted, I have to blur everybody's faces out or it gets too loud in my visual field thing. But, yeah. Anyway, I liked that.
It could be that, but we, having watched the movie, know that it's not.
It's also something,
actually, that's got some big Anthe energy. Just bringing it back to Utena for a second.
It's something that is described sometimes by people with various mental illnesses.
Yeah,
as a thing, like schizophrenics have described, like, having that be a problem they have as far as visualizing other people at times.
Just not being able to visualize faces.
Yeah, like,
there are people that
can't read faces.
Not even just can't read, but complete face blindness. Yeah. Like, can't recognize people from their faces.
Yeah, and this feels very, like, evocative of that. And it's kind of a sign of a mental state not being... Like, I feel like that's the messaging, too. On one hand, it's like, this world is fake. And on the other hand...
there's something wrong with Homura.
Yeah. Which ultimately become the same problem, but, you know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I keep coming back to Anthe in
faces all
episode
blur
3.
together to me. Yeah.
Episode 3 when her dress gets
Again,
soaked and she's looking around at everybody and all of their faces are like gone.
Yeah.
They're just like looming people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually kind of establishes threat too.
Yeah.
The fact that everybody's faces are kind of blurry and weird.
Yeah,
is
like you
really
can't trust them.
Yeah.
It's really foreboding.
Just like, and like Homer literally can't trust her environment at this point because of how it's acting. But it is very good atmosphere. And then it smash cuts to them eating lunch.
Yeah, it that continues into this lunch scene because I love this, how we're watching the girls eat lunch on the roof through the fence.
A window, yeah.
Yep.
It looks, but it's something akin to a window or like a fence
Bars.
or maybe even jail bars kind of a look. There's no
Okay.
dialogue, it's just music in the background. And we're just watching the girls have what to them would be a normal lunch.
I just want to point out that Sayaka just fed her soul gem to Kyubey.
Yeah, a little
Yeah,
food
they had
version.
a little
food version
bento
of it.
box.
Yeah, their bentos are like
Yeah.
hardcore. Jesus.
Well, one of the bento boxes had everybody's soul gem in
gem.
it. Sayaka picked hers out and fed it to Kyubey. That's pretty lulz. But
Yeah, that
yeah,
is cute, actually.
this is more imagery here with these bars.
Yeah.
Basically putting them in an enclosed space being watched by observers. The observers, of course, are us. That extended fucking metaphor of us being Kyubey is still majorly in effect here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We're
And,
the ones
yeah.
causing all of this. We're the ones who are enjoying their pain.
And I mean, the movie just crashes right into that and tells you right out you've been watching the movie alongside Kyubey, basically.
Yep.
You miserable shits are Kyubey. You were Kyubey all along.
It was you.
It
You
was
were
you.
the Kyubey all along.
Boo. But yeah, so they have this like super
adorable lunch
heartwarming
scene
lunch
with no dialogue.
scene.
Yeah,
Bars.
and Homer is kind of fake smiling, like she's participating,
Yeah.
she's having fun with everyone. But you can kind of tell from the wonderful animation that she's not really 100% into it. And then she looks to the side and outside of the fence on the roof, down beyond the school, and she can still see that everyone here has the blotch faces.
Yep.
Like, she's still preoccupied with this. She looks beyond, like, their little lunch jail, and she can still see that everyone is not right.
Mm-hmm.
But then Madoka saves her from thinking about it by giving her fried chicken, which, to be
also
fair, I
great.
would also consider
also
fried
like fried
chicken
chicken.
more important than blotch-faced people.
The world is a vampire and I hate it, but fried chicken.
Yes.
Okay, so, if you ask me, that was the end of Act 1.
Yes. I would say because
this is the beginning of Act 2, also known as the actual movie starts now. The story actually starts here.
Actually, I think it might start... Okay, let me just back up a second. I want to see something.
Oh, okay.
Not quite. They almost had it at the exact 30-minute mark, but not quite.
Yeah. Pretty close, though. But that's
Very
a good...
close.
Yeah. That was the end of episode 1
Yeah.
of the movie, basically.
Actually, wait a
I
second.
mean, I think Elliot
Wait a
literally
second, 'cause
split
if
it
you
into two
discount
to do
the
this.
Warner Brothers logo in the beginning,
It's
it
probably
might be
30.
almost exactly 30 minutes in.
What a troll.
That's fucking trolly as hell.
Which logo? I want to see.
Because they play
No,
the Warner
you know how
Brothers
they have
logo
like
in the beginning?
The Warner Brothers logo at the beginning, that's included in the timestamp here. So,
Oh.
yeah. So,
Yeah. Half an hour in,
it's
your face starts.
pretty
And it becomes
close.
like, it's like a big visual split, because now you start seeing, like, the labyrinth
more
stuff.
of the labyrinth starts leaking into the city.
Well, you do start, like, directly with this, like, whole music box
And
thing.
we get a
and-
diving blimp. And then, I think didn't we say this was actually Drosselmeyer?
I think, is a Drosselmeyer reference here.
Yeah, okay.
And
The
the
guy-
music in this scene is that leitmotif I was mentioning earlier.
Mhm.
If you listen to it closely, it's that same song, just, like, slowed down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, just to explain though, the guy We were saying that Drosselmeyer was the guy who's cranking this box that has, like, puppets and things inside it. I guess mechanical puppetry. And there were a bunch of fake children around him.
Which turned out to be
her familiars, I think.
They're even named in the booklet and stuff.
Oh, really? I didn't see that
they're
they
broken
were
down into different, which ones are which. And a red balloon, which I hear has a symbol attached to it. I don't know the red balloon story. I don't know.
The red
All
balloon
I can think of is, like,
is the student council.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so never mind. They just went and made it, like, completely explicit.
They just went and made an actual Utena.
No, look at the background. So, I mean, yeah, there's the balloons, but in the background are fucking ships.
Yep.
In the sky.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's my blimp fish thing confirmed.
But that is a Utena reference.
So, I don't know where the hell they are, but it's fucking weird.
The student council balcony, I guess.
I wish that I was there.
Like, this is such an otherworldly location.
You know what? It looks like they're on a boat.
It looks like a bird cage. Like, they're on a,
looks
domed...
But the river and the city are moving past them, so it looks like they're on a boat with a big bird cage with a tree in it and a garden and a table
and chairs that are like
way more cups than they actually need, and chairs with gigantic legs.
It's very trippy.
Yep, and there are bells in the tree,
and it does not make sense for any rational world.
No,
but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, because
so far out of all of the regular locations that the girls are in that are not nightmare locations, this is the first one that's like, where the hell are we right now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But while we're talking about the scenery here, we also have to keep in mind that it's super unreal because Homura is questioning reality.
Yeah, I get that for sure. Yeah,
we just didn't.
That's
mention
why
it,
it's
though.
Act 2. Act 2 is where the world starts to not work anymore.
Yeah. But during our talk of the scenery and all of that, the conversation that Homura is having with Kyoko is establishing that Kyoko doesn't remember when she transferred into Mitakihara school, and she lived in another town but doesn't really remember when she moved or anything like that. And they also established that Homura feels like Kyoko is the wrongest one.
Yeah.
Which is why she's talking to her.
Yeah. She says, I feel like something isn't right here, and I'm talking to you about it because out of everyone, you feel like you're the most different from how you should be.
Yep.
Which is true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because she was never in school that we know of.
It certainly never had any good speaking terms with, like...
I feel like given her backstory, she must have been homeschooled.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I mean, it makes sense to me.
Either that, or she just doesn't go to school since her family's gone.
I mean, I just mean up until then.
Stop going,
Before, when her family was alive, she was probably homeschooled.
Well, it is still kind of implied she would be homeless. Because, like, isn't she staying at, who is it, Sayaka's house? She's staying at somebody's house. So it is very, like, well, you know. But she's still acting very...
Thanks for the under table shot of legs closing.
Yeah, so there's an unnecessary shot of underneath the table as Kyoko leaves.
Love it.
Like, okay, on one hand, like, this is the closest I'm gonna get to this, and I'm gonna regret it.
What?
On one hand, I hate it and I don't want it, and on the other hand, how they use those shots is actually really good, because they are using them to depict body language and convey information. Because they do things like they show them fidgeting, like when they close their legs, when they like wiggle them, like it is body language that they're showing you, and they're using it to display information.
The angle that they give it to you from is extremely voyeuristic in a way that A, will titillate anybody who's interested in that, and B, will make uncomfortable anybody who's not.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which, to be honest, both of those things serve their ends here.
It's very episode 33.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, everything's
you're doing episode 33 with you.
I mean,
well,
when it comes to, like, sexual exploitation kind of being done on the down low, yes.
Yeah.
Reminder that this, of course, for anyone who for some reason is not keeping score, we are referring to, of course, episode 33 of Revolutionary Girl Utena.
No, it's Star Trek season.
Star Trek.
It's episode 33 of Star Trek, damn it. But yeah,
what's episode 33 of Sailor Moon?
I need to know right now.
I'm gonna guess it's... Wouldn't that be in the second?
It's the episode where Venus arrives and there's the fake, and Zoisite dresses up as the fake Sailor Moon.
Yes, the sexiest of Sailor Moon episodes.
Yes. and he gets very horny for
Holy shit, did she
Mamoru.
take 30 episodes to show up? Wait.
Yeah.
The original Sailor Moon anime is kind of slow going.
Holy shit. That's a lot. Okay. So
well, because they'll introduce one, and then there'll be like a couple episodes, and then they'll introduce another one, and they just
and then there'll be like 10 episodes.
Yeah,
and they'll introduce another one, and there'll be like another 10. Yeah,
they were really going for the long haul, weren't they?
Well, this was back in the era where anime was made for syndication.
That's fair.
Yeah,
and like it was being made at the same time as the comic it was based on, so they'd have to come up with a month's worth of episodes.
Yeah,
every like in between chapters of the story before they could move on.
Yep, great.
Yeah,
and then I had to pause on this, and I've already blown out my 33 hole, so I can't say anything anymore now. So I'll just shut up and not refer to that Ferris wheel looking fucking thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have.
The bridge, though, looks like a fucking roller coaster.
Yeah, it looks like a bridge, a roller coaster, and a Ferris wheel.
Yeah, so now we're getting into the very long bus sequence with Homura and Kyoko.
Yes.
Because they're just gonna go to the town where Kyoko is supposedly from and just prove once and for all that everything's fine.
Yeah.
Yep, but then we have all these bridges that go absolutely nowhere.
This is a Utena reference. How
this
is this
is
not
a very
from the movie?
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys are obviously a little bit ridiculous with the Utena references, but this is definitely, if anything is an Utena reference in this movie, it has to be this weird sequence of all this weird architecture, because that is like straight out of the Utena movie.
It really is. Takihara. I do kind of love that. So they're on a train, or
they're on a bus, and this is the long bus sequence.
The very long bus sequence. I mean, they really go out of the way to show you how much they are attempting to test. This
I love
that they have
that tower of windows.
The tower of windows. Yeah. So as they leave Mitakihara, they enter. So they go through all these weird bridges, and now they're in like this red, yellow, and purple void, and there's just windmills and a gigantic tower made out of window frames.
Yes,
it's great, and I love it.
It's so weird. So clearly we're in a witch's labyrinth. It's not really that hard to deduce this at this point, if you didn't already figure it out. And apparently they don't quite seem to know that they're not in any location on Earth right now. Like we're like, okay, clearly something's weird here because you're in a red void. But they, I don't know exactly what they're seeing.
Still?
Yeah, I don't know what it is that they're seeing, but we're seeing that this is, like, not correct.
Yeah.
Like, to what degree are they noticing the weird environment they are in?
Yeah.
It's strongly implied that they aren't noticing it pretty much at all. Like,
exactly, yeah.
Like, as far as they're concerned, it seems like the bus just keeps taking going in the wrong direction, and they still see a normal landscape.
Kyoko actually says at one point, hey, we were supposed to turn there, but there's no there.
There's no there.
There's
She's
no
already
road.
in this
There's
red
nothing.
void. There's nothing.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm guessing this is kind of more for the audience as far as what the fuck is going on.
Actually, that shot that we just saw,
with a bunch of
back it up just a little bit.
Where it's just like an incredibly long, winding road.
Yeah.
I love this sequence,
actually. I do too.
It's probably too long to serve this story, but I kind of love it anyway.
I love it too, yeah. Like at this point the pacing still isn't bad, but they're also 35 minutes into the movie and nothing has happened yet. So
Well,
the rest
we've
of the
had-
movie kind of suffers for it. But at this point, the movie's still fine.
There.
Yeah,
That's probably what they're seeing. This long, winding highway with bridges over it and trees everywhere and that kind of thing. So we get a glimpse of what they actually see.
Yeah, I think so.
What I love about this shot especially is that the roof of the bus overhang is perfectly aligned with the level of the hill behind it. Mm-hmm. So it kind of divides that shot into in half, like into a bottom part and a top part.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of like cutting them off from the rest of the scenery. Yeah.
So they catch the next bus.
The visual language is just great in this movie. It really is.
And Kyoko's getting like annoyed with shit.
Yep.
As you do.
As you do when you
dealing with
get on the
subpar
bus.
Public transit.
Yeah.
She's from Edmonton, I guess. And now it's blue, so I mean, it's nighttime, but it's still not making any visual sense to the rest of us, even though it seems to make sense to them.
Yeah, so Kyoko jumps onto the hood of the truck to be like, why didn't you turn back there?
I feel like this is exactly what Kyoko would do under any circumstance. There's no stretch for her. Like, this isn't her being in some dreamlike logic. This is just literally what she would do.
Well, I mean, that's not even in question. Of course she'd do that.
Yeah, so one interesting thing is that the bus used to say, like, bus to Kazumino City, like the Kazumino City bus line. Mm-hmm. And then we get a shot saying that it changed the line name to the Mitakihara Loop line.
Yep.
So the bus that they were on switched to a different line once they figured out, like, it's going in circles.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So then they decide to walk.
Yeah, which makes sense. Fuck it. If the bus can't figure out where to go, we'll do it ourselves.
Yep. Doop, doop, doop. And then we get all kinds of trippy moon imagery, and I love it. So the moon is on the ground.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And then we get phases of the moon on top of the bus stop, and then we get the moon lowering in the sky.
Because witches draw down the moon.
Yeah, because witches draw down the moon. That's a thing in mythology. The moon is hovering on top of the road. They're literally, like, right in front of it. They might even be able to reach out and touch the fucking moon. So
reach out and touch moon.
So, finally, somebody says, Kyoko says, is this some kind of illusion or something?
I know! Thanks, Kyoko!
Thank you, Kyoko.
Thank you, Kyoko. I'm sad it took her this long, but I'm kind of glad that was Kyoko's line, because she's usually the one that's, like, the fucking obvious thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, this is dumb. What the hell is going on?
And then, I don't know, she, like, decides to boot up her soul gem or something.
Which makes sense, because she's like, are we in some sort of fucking nightmare, or is this something I can magic my way out of, or will that give me my X-ray vision?
It looked like fire was happening on top of her hand, so it might have just
been... It was her soul gem manifesting.
Maybe like she just wanted to blast a hole in it.
That is also fair. I will blow up the moon if the moon is in my way, said Kyoko.
Said Kyoko.
Full of rational.
But Homer reaches over and kind of lays her hand over Kyoko's soul gem ring. And I like this. There's a visual parallel here in that one scene where Kyoko grabs Homura in a very similar way to keep her from killing Sayaka. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Totally. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
And Homer's like, I don't think there's anything outside of this city, but don't tell anybody for now, because
I want to investigate it myself.
Yeah. And Kyoko's like, but that's dumb. What are you doing?
Yeah, and then Homer's like, well, it might be safer that way, and they look around and they realize that there's, like, zombies essentially watching them.
Not just zombies with their heads.
Yeah.
Very creepy.
Which is extremely creepy.
Extremely creepy.
Which kind of lends... I would imagine if you're Kyoko, it's like, okay, this is definitely a nightmare.
I'm just, like, imagining our balcony outside full of
Choops and choops.
Yeah, zombies with heads that look like ours, but crayon.
How would you tell the difference between them and us? Honestly.
Their heads look like crayon.
That would make a good Halloween costume if you're on a budget.
It would.
Like, these zombies.
Because they're all in whatever person's regular clothes. So they just have this.
You could just make the mask and color it in crayon.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Yeah, that would be good.
Oh, okay. So before we move on, I wanted to bring up something in my notes. So this is a negative again, of course, because I'm the one saying it.
That's fine.
But I had this to write down at this, like, around this time in the movie. Part of the problem I have with this movie is that up until essentially now, when they figure out that something weird is going on, everything the characters are talking about and doing so far is either immensely obvious to the audience, to the point where we have to speculate about what they're actually seeing versus what we're seeing, or completely contextless. Like, either we're the ones with no context, or the characters are the ones with no context. So nothing important happens in this movie for 30 to 35 minutes, and then the last 10 minutes that we've been watching, the characters are just confirming something that's already extremely obvious, at least to me. So there's really no tension, like, in the movie so far.
You're watching the characters come to a conclusion you already have.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, and of course I'm only speaking for myself here, but again, we're 38 minutes in? We're 38 minutes in, and as someone watching this for the first time, I still was confused and, like, not invested in what was going on. I was still waiting for it to get to the point. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
I feel like this demands a certain kind of, like, because you do know where they're already going with it at this point, I would say. Yeah. You have a very clear idea. Maybe you don't know whose or whatever, but you know it's a labyrinth at this point, and, like, the journey is the point. But that's not necessarily the kind of fan that they set up, so...
Yeah, I do understand that, and I do understand that your mileage may vary. Like, I understand that someone can completely disagree with me on this point. I'm not speaking for anybody but myself. I'm just trying to explain, like...
Yeah.
No, it totally makes sense.
The issues that I have with this movie, and that's a big part of it is it's 2 hours long. It's over 2 hours long. And
it's a lot.
And, like, a quarter of the movie, like, nothing happens.
Yep. This feels like 2001. This feels like watching 2001, where, like, there's, like, 2 hours of you just kind of watching it, and you don't know what the fuck is going on, and it's kind of, I think, the same energy.
Yeah.
I feel like...
Which may or may not
I
be
see
your jam,
where you're
depending.
coming from, but I feel like most of the movie so far has been, and will continue to be, but most of it has been about not necessarily plot, not necessarily character or coherence, but more about creating specific emotional states in the audience.
Yes.
A lot of what they did in the very beginning was kind of lulling you and giving you, not necessarily you the person, but you the wide audience that they expect to have, giving you the fan service that you want, and you get to see Tiro duet instead of Tiro finale.
They're checking off a lot of the boxes that you showed up for.
And emotionally speaking, what it does is it tries. I'm not going to say it succeeds for everyone, because clearly it didn't for you, Amanda.
Yeah.
But I think what it's trying to do is that it's first lulling you into a sense of complacency with all of the fan service-y bullshit, and then slowly introducing elements into the fan service-y bullshit that make you very uncomfortable with it.
Right.
Up until this point where you're actually starting to get a sense of menace. Because I don't know about you, but those
faces
things,
are like a yikes.
Yeah, they're definitely a yikes.
The blob heads were kind of yikes, but the Kyoko and Homer crayon heads are really yikes, and they were walking towards the girls.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the first half of the movie kind of establishes an almost benevolent world.
Yes.
Like you figure out right away that it's not the real world, something's going on, blah 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 blah. That's obvious from the get-go. But there's kind of a benevolence about it.
Yeah.
And then this is around where like
it starts
to be
menacing.
malicious and uncomfortable, and you start seeing kind of
right.
the cogs beneath, and they're not necessarily as kind as you thought they were.
Exactly.
So I do kind of like that, but it relies a lot on you sitting through.
Yeah,
this is really abstract, but it feels more like this movie was meant to create a series of emotional impressions than it was to create an actual coherent story.
Yeah,
and like that is something that we have touched on in the past that I think was better left for like the very end of the movie. Yeah, but it kind of comes back around to the Game of Thrones comparison I've made to this movie before. But let's save that for later because that's going to be
that'll come into play much later.
Yeah.
Does.
Well, I wanted to ask Panda, as someone who is saying that you are the target audience for this movie and that you did really enjoy the beginning of it, like, is what Yasha and Vana were describing, like, is that kind of how you were taking everything up to this point?
Yeah, kinda. I'm pretty, like, I can be pretty dumb when I'm watching stuff for, especially, like, the first time. So, like, I can be a little willing to sort of let things kind of, like,
that's
just kind of happen.
Yeah,
and then, like, but then, like, once I get to the end of this movie, I just get mad. But we're not there yet.
No, but I think
Sounds like
specifically the kind of progression that I mentioned with being kind of excited and happy and lulled into a sense of like, oh, this is going to be cute and interesting and it's going to give me things that I want, and then becoming increasingly more uncomfortable with it. Is that kind of what you went through, Panda?
It wasn't really that I became uncomfortable. It was just like, I was sort of, this movie did kind of lull me into a false sense of security because I did like a lot of stuff that was happening in it, but I was always a little suspicious because it is Madoka. So I never even though I was pretty excited about a lot of the things that happened, like, I never really felt like
this is going to be completely benevolent in nature.
Except, okay, again, once we get to the end, I will say that I did actually think things were going to sort of, because it was my understanding that this was supposed to, like, be the end of the series, and so things were supposed to wrap up, and I thought, like, it was heading towards, like, a nice little conclusion, and that maybe, you know, maybe things might be happy and okay. I am an optimistic person sometimes,
no.
And it really did.
I've done hundreds of Utena episodes on a podcast.
I again remember this is the first time I've seen the movie since really digging into Utena. The first two times that I saw, the very first time I saw the movie, I had not seen Utena at all. The second time I saw the movie, I had seen some of Utena, but it's, you know, your first watch of Utena is sort of like just trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like the same.
But this movie did play me like a fucking fiddle. I will say that.
You got played. You played yourself.
I absolutely got played.
You engaged with the movie on an emotional level, I think.
Yes,
and,
absolutely. As I do everything in my life.
I was more I was kind of treating it more the way I treated the series, where I was like, because I've mentioned how, like, you know, Homura was kind of the same way for me in the series, of where it was like, okay, I'm waiting for this character to pay off. Like, this is obviously building towards something. There's going to be some kind of reveal for this, so, you know, I'm willing to sit and find out what it is. Because does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh no, totally.
Yeah.
It sounds like you. I feel like you watched the movie as a fan of the show.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is almost like a different impression you're gonna get of the movie if you're watching it as a fan of the show and expecting, like, you carry those expectations versus, like, if you just sort of watch the movie and you're not really necessarily, you know, thinking of it as the show, and it's not necessarily the character. Like, it's, I don't know, it's making sense in my head, but
Yeah.
I think I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm gonna say
Okay, what?
the reason I love that sequence is because I love it when people try to visually depict theoretical spaces.
Alright, go for it. Go for it.
I'm done.
You're
I'll
done?
stop.
Oh, no, we're not getting it.
That's it? You have any other examples?
No, I just like that they're like, okay, so if it's a witch labyrinth and you can't get out, what happens when you try to get out?
Yeah.
And I like how they visually depicted that in, like, all of the circles and all of the spheres and...
contorted bridges and contorted roads and,
And it ends up using a lot of the visual language around how people try to describe extra-dimensional shapes. Like, you know, you have a circle, you have a sphere, and then you have a hypersphere. And it's like that kind of, like, just fuckery that I feel like is what they're depicting, where you see them kind of coming up and sinking in like they're on a 3D track. Mm-hmm. You see them, like, you see all of these circles. Like, I just liked how they visually depicted that.
This actually is going to tie into some other stuff later, because Vanna basically went off about physics in this.
Oh wow, I'm so surprised.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's super interesting.
But it is a neat depiction because it's a thought experiment.
Yeah.
And it's not something that a lot of pieces of media get to have a chance to depict, so I enjoyed that they did it.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
They went like full bore with it and took like 5 minutes to fucking show it to you.
Visually speaking, too, we know that there's a precedent for them using kind of physics-based imagery.
Well, like Madoka's like little like sigil thing has that look of like atom smashing.
Yeah,
stuff
the
like
map
that.
of atom smashing. And we've seen other things in the series, too, that reminded us of physics concepts. I know we've mentioned them.
But that's all I'll say about that, and you can probably delete it. Anyway.
We may want to stop this episode here.
Yeah, we're getting I was literally about to say we're getting a little long, and we might not want to, because this is a little bit of a good place to stop.
So, where'd we make it to this time, guys? We got about 20 minutes extra in.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, 25.
All right, not bad.
I feel like this is about the same as if we had just done an episode about movie 2 and then did a third episode of the movie.
You know, it's honestly, it makes sense because we can get an hour and a half of content out of one episode of the anime, and we're kind of
this actually follows
20 to 25 minute chunks here.
So I think we're fine.
It's definitely our style.
We're good. This is going to be a 5-parter.
So what we're breaking off at this point is the point where Homer realizes this is a labyrinth.
Yeah.
Because this is when she's going to test it now. So.
But let's talk about that when we get back, because I think there's some really interesting lines and visuals coming up here. Yeah. Yep.
Definitely.
All right. Cool. Well, maybe we'll in 3 more we'll finally get through this movie or something.
Probably. Maybe.
Well,
maybe if
we
we're
are
lucky.
milking this for everything it's worth.
Oh,
I mean,
just like Den did.
Hold on.
Yeah.
New Patreons.
New
patrons.
I'm sorry, you guys.
We have to thank them.
Oh,
There's been a few who have not been thanked yet, and basically just because I was waiting because I thought they might appreciate being on a Rebellion episode, and then I forgot.
Rebellion episode,
and then I forgot last time.
Aw,
a Rebellion episode.
Well, now is a good time to mention everyone.
Okay, here we go. Thank you on the show. Thank you to Anime Index for supporting the show.
Thank you.
That sounds interesting. That makes me think it's like another website or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Thank you to Morgan. I believe this is the same Morgan who posts frequently in our Discord channel. So
hi, Morgan. Thank you.
By the way, if
Morgan.
anyone listening wants to join the Discord, send us a tweet on Twitter, and I will post the invite to you.
Everyone should join the Discord just for the fact that the formerly Not Safe for Work channel is now just called OSHA Violations. It is full of unsafe work practices.
The most cursed photos you've ever seen of people like doing things that are very bad ideas with ladders and like.
We
I
were
love it.
so against the idea of having to see NSFW Madoka content that we all
just made it an
spontaneously
ocean
decided,
violations.
no.
Yeah.
We rejected that.
Yes.
I'm gonna start photoshopping Madoka hair on like the ladders and the
Yes,
suspended
NSFW
tractors and
Madoka.
shit. Yep.
So, yes, thank you, Morgan. Thank you,
Morgan.
Nathaniel Onuf. I'm sorry, very, very sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong.
Thank you, Nathaniel.
Nathaniel Onuf.
Thank you, Nathaniel.
Thank you, Odd Lasdo. Who is that person?
Wow.
Wow, who is that?
Okay, so that's me, but like, just so everyone, just in case listeners do not realize we're joking, that's me.
That's you.
I signed myself up to the Patreon because somebody somewhere, like in a YouTube comment or like on the Empty Movement Discord, or somebody somewhere in like an obscure place was like, oh, none of the creators are on our Patreon. First of all, yes we are, because
Yes, we are.
Vana and Yasha have been patrons since the beginning. But
I mean, but also, like, why?
She's not going to refer to my name.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Also, like, you don't see my name on the Patreon, but like, all four of us are like taking a lot of time and money out of our schedules here to
Like,
produce
yeah.
the show. So
Look, I don't want to just be a jerk to whoever said that, but fuck you. Like, you have no idea how content creation works. Like, it does not make sense to sub to the Patreon of your own thing that you make. Like, what the hell? You're literally just paying Patreon. At that point,
Yet we do it anyway.
At that point, you are paying Patreon the fee that they take out of your money, which, look, I'm not like, I don't want that to sound like I'm dissing on, like, Gio and Yasha or on Amanda for being subbed to their own Patreon. It's just like, fuck you! Like,
How is that obligatory?
Yeah!
Like, why would you even do
Whoever
that?
said that is a thing that needs to be?
I don't know, but you're right. Your rant is correct, but it made me feel bad, so I signed up.
If that happened on my Discord, I'm gonna find this person and chew them out.
I honestly don't remember where it was. It might have been YouTube. I honestly don't know.
Attitudes around the expectation of content creation and the understanding of how much it actually costs in time and money is a whole other soapbox to...
Yeah, it is just so easy to shit
just
out a
make
video
some
or whatever.
content.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you to
Anyway.
Haley M.
Haley.
Thank you, Haley.
Thank you, Haley.
Thank you, Haley. And finally, our most recent new patron, thank you to the Mela Experience, who I think follows us on Twitter, and is lots of fun on Twitter. So thank you, the Mela Experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you would like to join our Patreon, it is at patreon.com/Madoka Magicast, no spaces. And for $5, you can get a really super cute heart-shaped button with Madoka and or Homura on it.
Very heartwarming.
For $2 a month, you get access to the Patreon, including the only one patron-only post that we have so far, but it does exist. we do have one patron-only post, which is our drunken hour-long
Rant about
reaction
Rebellion.
to Rebellion.
Yes.
Yeah.
If this wasn't enough.
Yeah, you can check that out for there's a minimum donation of $2 just because of Patreon's fees.
But it's a good episode. It was really funny.
It is, and it will help us. Anyone who supports us will help us be able to afford some of the spin-off content, like the manga series and stuff like that. So if you want us to cover, like, the Wraith arc or Tart Magica or any of the manga side stories, sign up for the Patreon, because it will help us, get out there and actually buy all of these manga. Because we don't want to read a poorly translated, like, illegal fan translation out there either. We want to read, like,
an actual translation.
The actual translation that somebody wrote. Yeah. So thank you to everybody who is supporting us. Thank you to everyone who shares the podcast, who comments. I solicited for Curious Cats. It looks like we ran out of time for that, so maybe we'll try to get some of those in next episode.
Or we could have a Rebellion Curious Cat.
Oh my god, maybe we should.
This is gonna get out of hand.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? We should start asking for Rebellion Curious Cats and then do an episode at the end just answering all of them, because I bet there will be a million.
Yeah, Rebellion is pretty divisive, so I can imagine if we ask for specific Rebellion Curious Cats, people will probably deliver.
We could do an entire episode on that.
Yeah. On one hand, I feel bad that we're making this many fucking episodes, and on the other hand, like, when we first started the show, that was the first thing everyone started, like, oh my god, are you gonna do Rebellion? So it's kind of like, yes.
Literally.
Yes, we're doing Rebellion.
We're here.
Yeah. And it is 2 hours long, so, like, there's
long.
a lot to talk about. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
I hadn't really thought of it that way, but if we can talk about one episode for an hour and a half, this is about right.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So, anyway, I do need to get to bed because I work tomorrow.
Yes. Go to bed.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. You can follow the show on Twitter at Madoka Magicast, also on Tumblr at Madoka Magicast. If you want to @ me on Twitter to tell me how wrong I am about Rebellion and how I'm a big poopy face, you can do that at Lambda Power on Twitter.
And you can find Vanna and I, should you wish to. This is a bad life choice, by the way, but we're all about bad choices. We are at ohtori.nu, and on Twitter we are ohtori_NU. Twitter is full of shitposts. The site is full of
shitposts.
Well, no.
It's just shitposts all the way down.
Extremely long shitposts that we put on the analysis section.
Yeah. Analysis.
Yes.
Shitposts. Okay.
And Panda?
If you would like to follow me on Twitter, you can do that at @impandanata. Do not @ me your Rebellion opinions. I do not care about them. If you would like to hear other things I do in the world of podcasting, you can check out The Fresh Podcast Market, a real podcast about fake podcasts. Or Imagine Me and Utena, a Revolutionary Girl Utena podcast.
You can @ me your Rebellion opinions. I will
send all of your Rebellion opinions to Amanda. Do not @ me.
I am an actual real life lawyer though, so you better get ready to argue with me if you're actually gonna come at me with that shit. So
excellent.
Amanda gets paid to argue in real life for her job.
I literally get paid to argue with people. Anyway. Thanks everyone for listening, and I guess we'll continue this in part 3 of our Rebellion episode.
Excellent.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, scroll down. Look at that underwear. Look at that butt. Look at the shape of that butt.